It was a tough afternoon for the Memphis Grizzlies. As excited as folks were that playoff basketball had returned, as wonderful it was to have a chance against LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the biggest stage of NBA Sunday, unfortunately, things go awry. A big loss to the Lakers, and perhaps an even bigger loss long term, depending on the health of Morant and his already banged up hand. We're going to talk about that and all things Game 1 next here on Locked On Grizzlies. Let's lock in.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome to another installment of Locked On Grizzlies, a Monday episode of Locked On Grizzlies. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mullinax. I write about the Memphis Grizzlies for Bluff City Media, Grizzlies contributor over that fine website. You can check out my co-host, Damichael Cole of the Commercial Appeal, Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal there in Memphis, Tennessee. He was there live and in person for Game 1 on Sunday afternoon. Make sure you're checking out his work over the Commercial Appeal, and we're excited that you're with both of us together here, as we are each and every day, just about, on Locked On Grizzlies. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check us out on YouTube. Like, comment, rate, review, subscribe, however you get your podcasts, however you make us a part daily of your NBA and Memphis Grizzlies experience. It is much appreciated. This episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by Prize Picks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant discount match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. Damichael, we're going to try to bring the energy here on this Monday, but after the way that the Grizzlies stumbled at the end of that game, there was so much to be positive about going into halftime. Memphis had found a way to build a 6-point lead. Anthony Davis got injured late in that quarter, but it's not like that was the reason Memphis built that lead. They were making a run even with Davis on the floor. Obviously, him not being there helped. I'm not trying to say it didn't, but there were reasons to be positive going into the second half, even with AD returning. And again, that was a good thing that he returned. We're certainly not going to root for injuries here on Locked On Grizzlies, but Davis continued his dominance against Memphis. LeBron James had a strong performance. Austin Reaves, completely took over in the fourth quarter. In the second half of Grizzlies-Lakers was the Grizzlies' playground. They scored 30-plus points in both quarters, had their way. Rui Hachimura, who I know we'll talk about throughout this episode, had the game of his life. And, of course, Morant gets injured later in the game, hurts his hand worse. It had already been taped. I think it was Anthony Davis takes a charge. Ja hits the ground and lands right on the bum hand, comes up immediately. I know that you talked to him, and he talked about how he couldn't even, or you noticed that he couldn't even ball up his socks or something along those lines, something that he couldn't move his hand in a normal, functional way. So Morant is very much in doubt for Game 2. So all that is to say, Damichael, not so much to be happy about on this Monday in Memphis.
Yeah, it's a concern for sure when we're talking about Morant's status, and we'll get more into the game. But we got to start here with Ja and just what's next for him. So you mentioned it. Yes, we went in the locker room, and Ja, is his body language, as he even said. So you probably can notice my body language right now is just not the best, because it's two layers to this show. It's one, it's like it's another injury in the playoffs and that whole thing. And then two, as he kept saying, he's like, look, this is stressful because after everything I've been through this season, I just wanted to be back with my team. And that's kind of, those were his words. And we go in the locker room, Joe. You mentioned it. His right hand completely was useless. He used his left hand as he put on his headphones. If you can see me here on the YouTube here, he basically would grab one, put one on with that hand, with his left hand, and then he'd grab the other ear and put it on with his left hand. And then he did the same thing with his shirt, put his shirt on with his left hand. You mentioned the socks, which I think stood out to people because the socks were, balled up, and he couldn't pull the socks off of each other to put them on his feet. So he tossed them to someone else to kind of, untangle the socks for him so he can put them on his feet because he wasn't using his right hand. So all those were signs that, man, like he's not even using his right hand at all right now. He's not even, doing anything with it. But to the positive side of this is Taylor Jenkins said X-rays were negative. That means, there's fractures here and whatnot. So there's a chance. We'll see over the course of time here how he progresses. And there's more evaluations that has to happen. Once we get all those updates, we'll have it. But Josh said his status for game 2 is in doubt. So I think that's how we should, operate right now, with the fact that, hey, it's unlikely that he'll play in game 2. I think personally it's realistic that he'll come back after that, since, he just has to get some movement in that hand. If you look at it, it bent back awkwardly. So the fact that it's not fractured, it's probably some strong contusions going on there. But more than anything, it's a tough break for him mentally. He was meditating in the locker room after this. All the Grizzlies players had went to, take showers and lift and all those things. Ja was the only player in the locker room. And he just sat back in his locker and he put his Beats headphones on and he just started, taking deep breaths and meditating because, remember he went to the counseling program in Florida. That was a big emphasis of handling stress. And this was a stressful moment for him. So he has to pick himself up from this. His teammates will have to pick him up, but we'll see, as far as his playing status over the course of the week, where it goes. But right now it looks like game 2 is probably unlikely.
Adversity does not build character, it reveals it. And I think that this is a wonderful test, not just of Ja Morant, who's undergone plenty of plights and plenty of issues. Some of them, again, brought upon himself, not trying to make excuses. But he's had a rough year, I think we all can agree on. And as far as the team at large, without Morant, obviously Kennedy Chandler got released to have Kenneth Lofton Jr., that would mean more Desmond Bane at the backup point. That would mean Luke Kennard and Bane playing more together, which theoretically could be good for the reserves who got completely outplayed by the Lakers. And we'll talk more about that later in the show. But I'm curious, you talked about his body language. He did some really impressive things in the Lakers game, but I can't shake the feeling, Damichael, that he continues to try to rediscover himself. Like he is not the same guy on the floor. Not even necessarily basketball-wise. You see the flash and explosiveness. He had a stretch in the third quarter where he took
He looked
over
like
the game
the third option in a way, didn't he?
Right. Yes, absolutely. That's what I was getting at. He looked like someone that was the third guy, and he's not the third guy, at least not the Ja Morant that you and I have come to know over the years of covering the team, not the guy that Memphis drafted in 2019. He's still got a lot going on, and I'm not trust me, I am not going to say that Ja Morant lost this game for Memphis because, as Damichael alluded to, he is very clearly still going through some stuff, and he's working through those things in a very public manner. I am having empathy for that. But when he's on the floor, you can't help but notice that he is not the same guy that he was before all this went down.
100%. And we're talking about on the court, right? He ever since he said that he's not the number one option anymore, you can see it in his play that he actually, is deferring to Jaren more, which actually worked out in this game. But that's neither nor. And then Desmond
we'll talk more about that later.
Exactly. Desmond Bane had a really good stretch, I think, was in the third quarter when he got cooking. But I think Dez and Jaren were the two leading scorers for the Grizzlies at halftime. I think Dez had 12, Ja had 10, and Jaren had, 19, I believe it was. So he's not shooting as much as those guys, or he wasn't in that game. And I think, part of it can be attributed to how the Lakers guarded him too. I think maybe we shouldn't make too much of it because of this game. Jared Vanderbilt was basically face guarding Ja, and he was guarding him with full court pressure. So the Grizzlies didn't really fight through that a lot of times. What they did was at one point they just brought Tyus Jones into the game and played 2-point guards. They said, hey, you're going to guard Ja like that? We're just going to let Tyus bring the ball up the court. And other times it'd be Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, those guys, and Ja would get into the offense in the half court. So a little bit different from that perspective because of how the Lakers were guarding him as well. So I think again, Jaren was working in the first half, 19 points, and he was 8 of 12 shooting. There was no need to go to Ja. And then in the third quarter, he got it going. So I think it's definitely in his head. It's one of those things where Ja's a very high IQ player. And sometimes that can kind of work against you because of the fact he knows how good that Jaren and Dez are, that he'll take advantage of that. And it's like, wait, don't forget you, Mr.
Right.
Two-time All-Star. You're that guy. You are that guy. So he has to remember that as well. But it'll be real interesting to see, how that unfolds over the course of the series, if and when he's able to return.
Yes. So get well, Ja, in more ways than one. Hopefully it's a positive. Obviously, Memphis doesn't play until Wednesday. So as much as we were complaining, or at least I was complaining about that, helping out.
It works out now, huh?
Right now it works out. So, Ja has historically, with the Grizzlies, returned faster from injury than normally anticipated. Maybe this will be another case of that, but we'll certainly see. And again, I can't stress enough. Kudos to the Lakers. I agree that Jared Vanderbilt is a lot of fun to watch. He had a role in Morant not being as active as perhaps he wanted to, but Ja Morant is not the same body language-wise. You can see it, and I hope that he finds not just his production on the court, again, trying to be consistent. You want him to, find his peace off of it, and it sounds like that meditation, he's still working through those things on a daily basis, even after a pretty disappointing loss to the Los Angeles Lakers. We're going to try to get a little more positive coming up here on Locked On Grizzlies. We're going to look for things. Damichael mentioned Jaren Jackson Jr. a moment ago. I have a feeling his name will be brought up again. Things to be positive and optimistic about heading into Wednesday's game 2 next here on Locked On Grizzlies. But first, this episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by Prize Picks. Big fan of Prize Picks over here. At least I am. I can't speak for Damichael, but I like Prize Picks. I like that you can go and take somebody like LeBron James to have more than 7.5 assists. You can take Anthony Davis to grab more than 9.5 rebounds. You can have Desmond Bane to make more than 3.5 threes. However you want to run your Prize Picks game, you can do it. It's very flexible. You pick 2 to 6 players. If they'll score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you and the projections available. And just about every sport under the sun is represented in Prize Picks. You got the NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, the PGA Tour, up and down. Any sport that's active right now just about is over on Prize Picks. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is literally that simple, with safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states as well as in Canada. Download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign-up for an instant deposit match up to $100. We're going to make your Monday a little better next here on Locked On Grizzlies. Stay with us. Welcome back to Locked On Grizzlies. I am Joe Mullinax, joined by the wonderful, the handsome, the very suave Damichael Cole. He did such a good job covering there in person for the Commercial Appeal Grizzlies beat writer. He might have been. You might be recording this episode of Locked On Grizzlies from that exact spot, Damichael.
Yeah, Joe, we're the white T-boys today.
I was just about to say, we are on the white T team. I did notice that.
We're the white T-boys today. Check it out.
Yes. After going to prom, I feel a lot more hip and down with it over the weekend. I'm a teacher in my day job, and I was helping out with the prom at my school, and I probably am dating myself. I'm guessing being fresh in my white tee is not cool anymore, but I'm going to roll with it. Damichael pointed it out, and anytime Damichael points out something, it makes me smile. So white tee boys are here, and we're going to get positive, Damichael. We're going to try to find some reasons over the next several minutes to make Memphis Grizzlies fans feel a little bit better about their lives. You mentioned Jaren Jackson Jr. a moment ago, and I'll let you, because you saw him in person. You saw him do it live. So I'm going to let you handle Jaren. I'm going to go off on a brief tangent here, and I know how our listeners and viewers love my tangents.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They look forward to these.
I live in the Virginia area. I live in Richmond, Virginia, for those who don't know. And I'm from Washington, D.C. I grew up a Washington Wizards fan. So naturally, my second team that I follow, the Grizzlies are number one. It's not even close.
Yeah.
The team that I follow, hey, how did they do last night, is the Washington Wizards. I can tell you, I did look at the numbers, but I knew it before the numbers. Rui Hachimura has never, ever had a professional basketball shooting performance like he did against the Grizzlies in game 1. Desmond Bane mentioned it in the post-game presser. That was part of their plan. They were going to let him shoot the threes. He made them pay for it this time, and Bane literally said, We'll see if he does it in game 2. So they're going to make some changes that over the next couple of days here on Locked On, you and I can talk about. They're going to make some adjustments, but I don't think that's one of them because Rui Hachimura before this game had shot 29% from 3 as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. 29% from 3 as a member of the Lakers. This is by far the best Hachimura has ever shot at this volume as a three-point shooter. It fed into his confidence in terms of his 2-point game, which in fairness, he's a little more consistent with. And it also fed into the confidence of the Lakers. That is not, even if he's that open again, I'm not sure he could do that if his life depended on
it. I don't blame you for thinking that way, right? Season high in 3-pointers this year was 3. And he made 4 in 1 quarter. Like he surpassed his season high for a game through 1 quarter of play, that third quarter where he made 4 3-pointers. So, I mean, you're onto something there. And like you said, Des said, hey, look, that was part of the game plan. That's what Des said. He even said it was part of the game plan. Hey,
right.
Let this guy shoot. And he made him pay. You know, that's what game plans are for. But you mentioned Jaren Jackson Jr. earlier. And if we want a positive takeaway, it's this team, the Lakers, they don't really have an answer for Jaren Jackson Jr. I'm going to explain why. Because, yes, they have Anthony Davis, who, by the way, 7 blocks.
Yeah.
Season high 10 blocks for the Lakers. And how about 2 guys got them? Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Just 2 monsters, right? But with that being said, here's the thing. Here's the situation. No one else outside of Anthony Davis stands a chance against Jaren Jackson Jr. As strong as LeBron is, as physical as LeBron is, Jaren has grown patient in his approach. He doesn't rush. And at the end of the day, he's taller. He can shoot over the top of LeBron. And LeBron can kind of, be physical with him and all that. But Jaren has gotten so patient. He got to his spots against LeBron James, and he was finishing over him, finishing around him. And no one else stands a chance. Rui has never really been known, as you mentioned, never been known for his defense. Always had offensive talent, but never really been known for his play on that side of the ball. And those are pretty much the guys, Jared Vanderbilt, again, same thing. For the most part, he was guarding on the perimeter in this past game. But if he matches up against Jaren, I think you're going to get the same case, whereas a guy who's shorter and Jaren's just going to shoot over the top of him. Anthony Davis, in theory, works, Joe. Great size, shot blocker, mobile. But the thing is, Jaren Jackson Jr. isn't just a post-up guy. He will bring you away from the basket. He did some of that in this game as well. He's kind of like a stretch 4, stretch 5, whatever you want to call it. But the thing is, the Lakers want Anthony Davis around the rim. 7 blocks are why. 7 blocks are exactly why they want him around the rim. But the thing about it is, if you put him on Jaren Jackson Jr., Jaren brings him away from the rim. Now you have Ja Morant, Desmond Bane driving to the basket with limited rim protection, and they're going to feast off of that. So it's kind of like a give and take where the Lakers have to figure out, man, look, we want this guy guarding Jaren or that guy guarding Jaren, and we prefer Anthony Davis in certain situations to come help because he guarded Xavier Tillman Sr. For the most part in this game. But that's kind of the situations you're putting the Lakers in. So sure, in my mind, there is an answer, but it's not the answer they want to use. So because of that, Jaren Jackson Jr., I see no reason why he shouldn't dominate the rest of this series. They threw the double teams at him, Joe. They threw all the different looks, and he responded well. Joe, check it out. You've been one of those guys talking about his playmaking, 4 assists. A couple of those came out of those double teams. Joe, what did you think about that?
I loved it. I'm glad you brought it up. I was going to bring it up if you didn't, but as usual, mind meld, partner. I was very impressed with how he played. He dominated LeBron James. Like LeBron James very much looked like a 38-year-old man trying to stop someone. Again, there were times where LeBron did not look that way. Multiple chase down blocks.
But
Father
you're
Time
right.
is undefeated.
You're right with Jaren.
Correct. Against Jaren, he looked that way. Against other guys, like Desmond Bane might have some nightmares about LeBron James. But LeBron struggled with Jaren. If Vanderbilt is the guy that defends Jaren, I think that they had a lot of success with him on the perimeter, and they would almost lose some of what helped them in this game, even if Ja is out. So I don't know, maybe you put him on Bane. I mean, if he can defend Ja, he can defend Bane, and maybe you continue that energy. because he had a strong game. Again, Ja played well, but Ja worked for the offense that he got.
Yeah.
So I think that you really have to be impressed with Jaren. And as poorly as the game went, especially that fourth quarter, and I'll talk more about that here in a minute, as poorly as that went, Rui Hachimura, I can't stress this enough, that will never happen again. If he scores that way again, he scored more points off the bench. I think this is an ESPN stats tweet. He scored the most points off the bench for the Los Angeles Lakers since Magic Johnson in the mid-90s.
Yeah, 96. Yeah.
Rui Hachimura. Okay? Again, he's a good player. I'm not trying to be disrespectful in terms of, is he going to score 8 to 10 a night off the bench? Absolutely. That's his average, right? Like, yes, expect that from him. He's not going to, no way he's 5 or 6 from 3. No way he shoots that efficiently. It's not going to happen. I think it was 11 for 14 from the field.
29 points. Led the team.
No way. No way that happens again. Jaren Jackson can absolutely do what he did to the Lakers again. And that's a reason to be optimistic, among others that I'm sure we'll talk about on future episodes this week of Locked On Grizzlies. But we got to, end on a bit of a tough note on this episode. There are some things that we weren't as excited about, and we'll talk about those items next here on Locked On Grizzlies. But first, we are sponsored once again by the delicious Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and calories, you need to be trying the best tasting protein bar ever. That's Built. You got to try it. If you're like me, you want to make a healthier snack choice, you should try the healthy and amazingly tasting Built Bar. What makes them taste so good? They're covered in 100% real dark chocolate. They have flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and cookies and cream. And they do all this in 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. You can get your Built Bars at Built.com. Go check them out right there, right now. But if you want them a little bit faster, you can go to your local Walmart, go to your local Sam's Club, and you can get specialty flavors that you want, like double chocolate bar, coconut puff, which is my personal favorite, cookies and cream. You can get all those at Walmart in the pharmacy section today. If you're close to a Sam's Club, you can get a 13-bar box with hit flavors like brownie batter puff or churro puff. Thank us later here at Locked On Grizzlies, and check out Built Bar, a wonderful sponsor of not just Locked On Grizzlies, but the Locked On Podcast Network. We're going to end as a bit of a Debbie Downer on this Monday, talking the things we didn't like about Game 1. Stick with us here on Locked On Grizzlies. Welcome back to Locked On Grizzlies. I am Joe Mullinax, still Joe Mullinax, and that is still Damichael Cole, the other half of the White Tea Boys, also a commercial appeal writer, beat writer, covering the Memphis Grizzlies. He is a phenomenal writer, does an amazing job covering the team. You should be following him at Damichael C if you don't already do so. I'm a Grizzlies columnist. I write for Bluff City Media. You can check out my stuff there. I also have a piece talking about the Grizzlies and Lakers series over at SB Nation on Monday, so you can go check that out as well. I'm writing, Damichael's writing. We're here on Locked On Grizzlies, either one of us or both of us, each and every day throughout the playoffs. Stick with us. Make us a part of your journey. I think you'll be better off for it. Something that I'm not better off for is the way that fourth quarter ended, Damichael. And again, you were there in the building, right? And it was said on social media. I think they might have said it a time or two on the broadcast on ABC. The building seemed kind of quiet for a majority of the game, not as intense as other Grizzlies playoff environments have been. Part of that is, the way that Memphis was playing. The team bears some responsibility for that. Part of it was the afternoon start on a Sunday, maybe not quite as turned up as Beale Street could potentially be on a Saturday night in Memphis, for example. But I do think that what frustrated me the most beyond the first 3 quarters was the way that the fourth quarter ended. It seemed like with 2 or 3 minutes left, the game was closer than the final score indicates. The
closer.
Lakers ran it up there at the end. And I'm not mad at the Lakers. It's the playoffs, man. Like, the Lakers were making a point and good on them. The Grizzlies just kind of took it. And I don't know if it's because they were over it. Ja was hurt. Combination of the two. They were disappointed that Rui Hachimura was cooking them. Whatever the case was, they just did not look like a team that wanted to fight back or finish. And that's not indicative of Memphis basketball. So for me, obviously, we can talk about Luke Kennard not getting enough shot attempts. We can talk about Dylan Brooks getting too many shot attempts. We can talk about our boy Xavier Tillman regressing back to Summer League, our boy Xavier Tillman. There's lots of angles we can take here in terms of disappointment to Michael. But for me, I just felt like they kind of gave up at the end. And again, you were there in person. Maybe you'll disagree with me. I kind of hope you do.
I mean, I really can't disagree with that. And I don't know if it was given up towards the, when it's about 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left.
That's what I'm referencing.
Jaren was carrying the team.
Right.
When Ja got hurt, I think it was 5:48 left in the fourth quarter. Ja went down. They were down 4 points. Went back on the other end. I think the Lakers made it a 7-point game, something like that. And Jaren just carried the Grizzlies to the point. They made it a 2-point game. They got back within 2, and that was all she wrote. LA, I mean, it was death by Austin Reaves. It was death by Austin Reaves. And that's kind of where I'm going here. I think, the fact that the Lakers had 5 guys score 19 or more points. I think it was 5 guys, right? Austin Reaves, D'Angelo Russell, Rui, LeBron, AD. LeBron and AD, who cares? They're going to score 20.
They are going to score, absolutely.
Rui, you said it, 10, 12 points, book it. He's a great mid-range shooter. I think he's going to get that. D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reaves. D'Angelo Russell, particularly in the third quarter. Austin Reaves is yelling, "I'm him," in the fourth quarter.
He sure did.
He's yelling, "I'm him." I mean, you got Austin Reaves yelling that he's him. And I'm just gonna go out on a limb here, Joe. This is just me talking. I haven't asked Desmond Bane this or anything, but I was talking to Desmond Bane before game 1, and I was like, you're probably gonna be guarding Austin Reaves. What do you think about him? Desmond Bane, I would say fairly, complimentary of certain players in the league. He was like, "Oh yeah, he's good player," and I'm like, Big 12 guys, right? Going back, I'm watching the highlights. I'm like, "Oh yeah, Austin Reaves, Oklahoma scored 41 points. Desmond Bane scored 26. TCU lost by 2 points. Might be a little bit more spice to this relationship." And during the game, I see Desmond Bane hit a 3-pointer and he gives Austin Reaves a little side eye. I'm like, "Oh yeah, there's something there." So that's something that I'm going to monitor throughout the rest of the series as well. But I tell you what, at the end of the day, Joe, Austin Reaves, Rui, and D'Angelo Russell cannot do that. You're going to lose. You're going to lose much quicker than you can probably imagine if those 3 guys are cooking. I think the fact that Dillon Brooks, for as bad as his offense was, he did a heck of a job while he was in the game on LeBron James.
Yep.
And it's mind-boggling because you're so used to so many Superman performances from LeBron James in his career. When you hold him to that type of night, you got to take advantage of.
Absolutely. To your point, as late as 2 minutes and 45 seconds left in the game. And again, the Lakers won this game by 16.
By 16
points.
Yeah.
With 2 minutes and 45 seconds left, Memphis was only down 1. They were down 1 point with 2 minutes and 45. Then you have an Austin Reaves made layup. Austin Reaves made 3. Austin Reaves mid-range shot. A couple of free throws from Anthony Davis. Davis does a dunk. Rui Hachimura has a dunk. Anthony Davis with a dunk out in transition. And all of a sudden, literally within 2 minutes, the Grizzlies are down by 14 points.
Yep.
Or 16 points, excuse me. So it just was a massive collapse. And I like I said, disappointing. Austin Reaves, I'm still going to give Austin Reaves the benefit of the doubt. Like, at least he has a sustained run of scoring 19 points a game, right?
He's good.
Last 15 regular season games, he scored 19 on average. Credit where it's due. I'm not going to say he's not going to do that again. He probably won't take over a fourth quarter like that again. But I'm not going to say he's not going to score 19 again. I'm not saying you are either. That's my point. I am very confident saying Rui Hachimura will never do that again. And hopefully the Grizzlies won't have Luke Kennard only shoot 4 3-point shots ever again. Now, again, credit the Lakers, and we'll talk more about this on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Grizzlies. They did a good job limiting Luke Kennard's offensive opportunities, but they have to prioritize that more. Memphis does. They have to find ways to get Desmond Bane looks where he doesn't have to just come driving down from the top of the key. I've noticed that with Dez. So much of downhill Dez comes from around the same part of the basket. I want to see him do more cuts on the baseline. I want to see a little more variety in how they get him to the lane. I understand that they're going to try to take away Bane as a three-point shooter. And again, Dez shot 3 for 10 from beyond the arc. That's not good enough. Mm-hmm. But I really think that there's room for some adjustments, going into Monday and Tuesday here, today and Tuesday, to have some practices and watch some film, get better. And we'll talk more about all of that on tomorrow and Wednesday's episodes of Locked On Grizzlies. Thank you so much for making Locked On Grizzlies your first listen each and every day. Again, we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate all of you that are everydayers checking us out each and every day. Again, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's wherever you get podcasts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Continue to do so. On tomorrow's episode, Damichael, I don't know if you know this or not. We didn't talk about it purposefully on this show.
Yeah.
Because the Defensive Player of the Year award gets announced tonight, right?
Yeah.
It's tonight, Monday night. The DPOY will get named. And I don't know about you, Damichael. I know you get paid to keep up with these things. I'm just a loser, and this is my hobby, and I follow it. I have a funny feeling that we're going to be talking about a new Memphis Grizzlies Defensive Player of the Year on our Tuesday edition of Locked On Grizzlies.
Yeah, Marc Gasol might be getting some company, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this one would be as scrutinized as that one. So we'll see what happens. I'm more interested to see, the splitting of the voting as well, just over the course. And I mean, we talked about the great season he's had here, and he built up on last season. The reason he is going to be arguably Defensive Player of the Year is because last season he was first team all defense and he set the foundation. The foundation was set, and then he capitalized on that season, had an even better one, turned his whole Grizzlies team around after missing, the first, forgot how many games he missed of the season, but after missing that first stretch, and I think he deserves it.
I would agree. So either we're going to be celebrating Jaren Jackson Jr. in the first segment of tomorrow's show, or I'm going to be yelling at people for about 4 to 5 minutes. And then Damichael, very calmly, very intelligently, will be telling you more than likely why I'm right, but maybe he'll play some devil's advocate. If you check out Locked On Grizzlies every day, you know how this works more often than not. I'm the crazy one. He's the suave one. That's how it flows. And we'll also talk about a little bit, my boy Luke Kennard, I mentioned him a moment ago. I want to see him get more shots. I want to see him have some more confidence. Some of the knocks on him going back to his Los Angeles Clippers days reared their ugly head against the Lakers. So I want to talk about Kennard tomorrow as well. So Defensive Player of the Year results, Luke Kennard, and more on our next episode of Locked On Grizzlies. For Damichael Cole, the Commercial Appeal, I am Joe Mullinax of Bluff City Media and SB Nation. Thank you so much for checking us out on YouTube. Like, comment, rate, review, subscribe, wherever you get your podcast. Keep making us part of your NBA and Memphis Grizzlies content consumption as the NBA playoffs grind along. For Damichael, I'm Joe. Stay locked in. This is Locked On Grizzlies.